Okay, dear students, today we are going to discuss the concept of the throughput accounting. Before discussing the theoretical concept of the throughput accounting and then solving the exercise on the throughput accounting, which can help you in understanding this concept, let me create some scenarios that what are the situation when we need to understand and to apply the throughput accounting. For example, my dear, there's a textile company with the name of the ABC Garden Limited. We have two departments to make a one unit. The time required for one unit in the cutting department is 4 hours. Similarly, the time required in stitching department to stitch the fabrics, we need 3 hours for one unit. The maximum capacity or the maximum number of hours which we have in the cutting department is 1600 hours per month. Similarly, in stitching department, we have 1000 hours per month. No matter how much maximum number of units in a month I can produce, the cutting department has the capacity to cut fabrics and can give me the 400 units. But further, I need to process it into the stitching department, while the capacity of the stitching department is only 333 units. Now, my dear, here the question arises that how much should I produce? Maybe the demand for the product is that maybe 500 units. Can I produce the 500 units? No. The cutting department said that their capacity is only 400. But the stitching department had the capacity to finalize the product, which is only 333.3. But in throughput accounting, we actually believe that resources, if the resources are limited, no, the decision is based on the stitching department here. The problem is with the stitching department. The limited resources which we have, that is the number of hours per month. The problem is with the stitching department. So my dear, when we make a decision that how much should we produce according to the throughput accounting, we should consider that department or that machine or that system which help us in producing the product, which are stopping us, the product, the department or the system which is stopping us from producing the complete number of units or the maximum number of units which we can produce. So here in this case, teaching department is actually a problem creator, I should say. Now, my dear, in throughput accounting, we call this the bottleneck. Bottleneck is actually a machine or a system, a department which stop us from producing the products according to the market demand. Now, this in the throughput accounting, we believe that we should not go for the inventory. There should be zero inventory because we have limited resources. So when I'm talking about the no inventory, look my dear, I can at least cut down the fabrics and I can make it ready to the stitching department in 400. While my dear, the number of units which the uh, stitching department can do, that is 33. So 400 minus 3.3. If I produce the 400 units from the cutting department, it means that I will be having additional 66.7 inventory. But in throughput accounting, we believe that the inventory should be zero. No doubt we will be wasting some number of hours here if I am producing the 333 units. But my dear, this additional 67 inventory also cost me. It also cost me. It's the storing cost, their production cost, their overhead cost. So in throughput accounting, we actually believe that there should be no inventory. We should only produce the products which we can sold out. Okay, produce the products which can be sold out. So in this case, we can sold out only 333 units. Okay. There also the concept is that to produce the full product, there should be no working process. We have the limited resources, so that's why the throughput accounting concept believe in that there should be no inventory, there should be no work in process. Like you can see that we are avoiding the additional 66 units, even the point 3, not producing the point 3, produce the full units. Okay, so this is the one scenario where we used to take help from the bottleneck, from the throughput accounting. So we come to know that what is stopping us from producing all the units, that is the department or the system which has the limited resources. So in throughput accounting, it's very important to understand the meaning of the bottleneck, which is going to help us in calculating the entire scenario. I'm going to share now the second case. The second scenario which we need to understand why we are using the throughput accounting is that, for example, if my company produce, let's suppose, 3 different products. For example, I'm producing 3 products A, B, and C. Now the demand for the A, B, and C in the market is of course different. Maybe I wish to produce all the A, B, C according to the market demand, but is it possible? If the resources are limited, then it might be not possible to produce all three according to the market demand. So the question arises, how much should I produce A, how much should I produce B, and how much should I produce C? What should be the optimal combination? What should be the optimal combination which can maximize my profit? This is what, my dear, we are going to understand in this throughput concept, that if I'm producing 3 different products, so because of the limited resources, I'm not able to produce all the 3 according to the market demand. Now what should be the combination of the A, B, C? How much should I produce A, how much should I produce B, and how much should I produce the C, which can maximize my profit? And what is stopping me? The bottleneck is stopping me from producing all the, this is actually stopping me to produce all the units according to the market demand. So one thing is now clear, that while continuing the concept of the throughput accounting, and while we will solving this scenario, we need to keep one thing in mind, that is the bottleneck. So very important to understand the bottleneck, because this is which is stopping us from producing all the units according to the market demand. This is my bottleneck. This is stopping me. So if you understand the meaning of these 2 concepts, then we can make it very easily. It will help us in understanding the concept of throughput accounting very easily. Now something else we need to understand to reaching this point. That what should be the optimal combination which can maximize my profit? We go through the 5 different steps. The first step is no doubt to identify the bottleneck. Okay, this is the first step. And my dear, we need to do the ranking among the A, B, and C. Okay, we need to do the ranking. This ranking will actually decide about the priority, which can help us in deciding about the combination of products. Okay, what is the purpose? The purpose is to maximize the profit. To maximize the profit. Now the question arises that on what basis we will be doing the ranking. Okay, what will decide us to decide about the ranking, that first we should produce A, then second we should produce C or P. For this, my dear, we need to calculate the throughput accounting ratio. We need to calculate the throughput accounting ratio. It will help us in doing the ranking. Now, my dear, for throughput accounting ratio, when I'm saying that ratio, it means that I'm comparing the return with the cost. Now, the product which is giving me relatively high return as compared to the cost, that is going to be my first priority. Okay, so the high, let me write in short, throughput accounting ratio. So high throughput accounting ratio is preferable. Now the question arises how to calculate throughput accounting ratio. Okay, my dear, now let's come to the exercise also, but let me give you a quick review about the theoretical concept of the throughput accounting ratio. As I told you that this is a decision-making accounting model when we are struggling with the resource availability. Okay, the purpose is to maximize the profitability or the efficient use of the resources. As we discussed in the scenario, I told you that we will only produce what we can sold out because resources are limited, are scarce. Here we believe in just-in-time inventory system where the inventory should be zero or minimum, no work in progress, no need to produce no need to produce any inventory, no need to keep an inventory, only produce the full product. Okay, focus on more profitable product. I told you that we are going to do the ranking based on the throughput accounting ratio, and then we will decide to produce the product which can give us more profit. These are the steps. While reaching to the throughput accounting ratio, we need to first identify the bottleneck. As I told you, bottleneck is a system, machine, or a department which is stopping us to produce the products according to the market demand. We need to calculate the throughput unit for each product. We need to calculate the throughput accounting ratio and then ranking and then calculate the optimal combination. I'm going to take help from one of the exercise. The production of a product should not exceed the maximum demand for that product. We will produce the product according to the demand. Even, for example, what does this mean? Maybe the throughput accounting ratio of product A is very high. It doesn't mean that we should spend all the resources on producing the only product A. We cannot exceed the market demand. No need to produce more than the market demand. So we will be trying to produce the maximum of A if its ranking is first according to the market demand. Now, my dear, before starting the question, we need to understand that in every exercise that we do, we discuss that there are three components of the production. One is the direct material, one is the direct labor, the third one is the overhead. To reach to this point where we can get the optimal combination and maximize the profit, my dear, we need to calculate the throughput accounting ratio. And for throughput accounting ratio, we need to calculate first throughput return. Now the throughput return means that sales minus variable cost. In the throughput accounting ratio, my dear, the direct material is only considered the variable cost. So I can say in other words that throughput return is equal to sales minus direct material cost. If I'm calculating the throughput return of 1 unit, so then sales per unit divided minus the direct material cost of the 1 unit. The rest of the two, direct labor and overhead, this is considered a fixed cost. I can say that factory cost. When I'm saying that fixed cost or factory cost, it means that I'm considering this as a cost for a period. Like for example, when I say that I'm paying rent 4,000, so it doesn't mean that I'm paying it for the one product. I'm paying it for the entire system under which I'm producing the product A, B, and C. So that's why we call it a cost for a period. So now we need to understand two things, that direct material is the considered variable cost and the direct labor and overhead is considered a factory cost. Okay. Why we need this? Now my dear, while calculating the throughput accounting ratio, we need to compare that the throughput returns per unit per hour divided by the factory cost per hour. But before reaching that, let me show you the formula here. Okay. Theoretically, throughput accounting ratio, if it is greater than 1, is considered good because it means that your throughput return per hour is greater than your factory cost per hour. If it is less than 1, it means that you are not enough able to cover your fixed cost or the operating cost. So here you can see the formulas, the throughput return. You need to understand that the selling price minus material cost, or I can say variable cost, you will get the throughput return. Here we assume that variable cost is only the material cost. Fixed cost means the labor cost plus overhead cost, which we also call the factory cost. By this, we'll be taking a help and calculating the throughput accounting ratio. What is the formula of the throughput accounting ratio? Look, my dear, we have a problem. A limited resources problem means a bottleneck. Now we need to consider this return and this cost in relation to that bottleneck resources available to us. Okay, as if I can show you the example in the previous scenario. I told you that to reach to the bottleneck, to reach to the optimal combination to maximize the profit, we need to consider the bottleneck. So my dear, to calculate the throughput accounting ratio, we actually used to calculate the throughput return or the factory cost in relation to the available resources or the bottleneck which is stopping us from producing the maximum number of units. So if you see the formula here, formula of throughput accounting ratio is that throughput return per hour. What do we mean by throughput return? Sales minus material cost per hour. Per hour means the hour of the bottleneck available. Similarly, factory cost per hour. How to calculate the factory cost? The labor cost plus overhead cost per hour. When I'm talking about the per hour, so actually the limited resources was in terms of the hours. So we need to calculate it into the relation of the bottleneck per hour available. You can, it's written here that per hour in the time of on bottleneck resources. Per hour means the time per unit of a product on the bottleneck. So we are only considering, while calculating the throughput accounting ratio, we will not considering the, for example, the cutting department. We don't have an issue here. So we need to calculate the bottleneck, the throughput return in relation to the bottleneck, which is the stitching department in this case, for example. So you got the formula of the throughput accounting ratio. This is the formula of the throughput accounting ratio. Let me copy it here directly. Okay. Now the question arises how to calculate the throughput return per hour. Okay, we can get the throughput return from where? From the sales minus direct material cost. We will get the throughput return. When I'm talking about per hour, now by this per hour I mean the total net hour. Okay. Once I'll be doing the question, it will then it will be more easy for you people. Similarly, again the effective cost per hour we need to calculate. Means the factory cost, or I should say the total fixed cost. These are the terminology, otherwise simple, the same fixed cost which we have discussed many times. Again, when I'm talking about the per hour, so again I have to consider the available hours in the bottleneck. Okay, now let's start a question. Hopefully it will help us. The question is that the company is producing three products. Its name is A, B, and C. These are the sale prices of each product: 25, 18, and 18. The direct material cost is 10, 8, and 5. The direct, this is the per unit, okay? Direct labor per unit cost is 5, 3, 2, and the overhead cost is 2, 1, and 1.5. Estimated demand in the market for the each of the product is, let's suppose, 250, 250, and 250. The market demand for the product A is 250 units, and the B is also 250 units, and for the C auto is also 250 units. Okay, my dear. Now machines hours required per unit. Machine 1 needs 7 hours to produce 1 unit of A, and machine 1 needs 3 hours to produce the product B, 1 unit of the B. Machine hours simply required 2 hours to produce the one product of the product C. Similarly, this is the data of the machine 2. Need 8 hours to produce A, 2 hours to produce B, and 1 hour to produce C. Similarly, machine 3 need the 3 hours to produce A, 1.5 hours to produce C. The maximum capacity, to make it easy, we have the 1500 hours for each machine. It could be different, but to make it more easy, so we have 1500 hours of each machine, machine 1, 2, and 3. Now, my dear, we need to understand that we need to identify. Remember the steps? The first step was to identify the bottleneck. Now, how to identify the bottleneck? We need to check the capacity of the machine. Okay. Let's suppose, let me copy it like this. Okay, we have two different methods. I can use the short method also. To produce each of this unit, machine A needs how much hours? 7 plus 3 plus 2. Machine A required 12 hours to produce each unit of the A, B, and C. The machine 2 and 3, machine 2 required 8 hours, 2 hours, and 1 hour, requires 11 hours. And the machine 3 required 4.5 hours. So we can see that machine 1 required highest hours, and machine 3 need lowest time. So my dear, one indication I can get from here that if the resources are limited, which machine will create a problem for me to produce maximum units? This machine one is going to be a bottleneck. Okay, let's check it. Let's check it. For example, if I'm using the long method, one of the questions you mostly receive in the exam is that just to identify the bottleneck. If you just identify the bottleneck, you can easily secure 2 marks. Look, for example, I have the ABC units. If I want to produce ABC 250 units, okay, then how much number of hours I need? Let me copy it. Um, Let me uncolor it at the moment. You mind that if I want to produce the 250 units of the machine A, if I want to produce 250 units, how much number of hours required from machine A? 250 units if I want to produce. Okay, so machine A required 7 hours to produce 1 unit. If I want to produce the 250, so machine A requires 1750 units. So okay, let me continue. So similarly, to produce the 250 units of machine B, I required how much units to produce? 3 hours required for 1 unit. If I want to produce the, look, this is the product B. If I want to produce the 250 units, so I need 750 hours for machine B, and I need to produce 250 units if I need 500 hours for the machine C. If I add it up all, so the number of hours required, number of hours required. So number of hours required by machine 1 is the 3000 hours. But how much hours are available for each? Available hours are, if you remember, available hours are, yes, 1500. Available are 1500. So my dear, one thing is clear that it required 3000 hours while we have only 1500 hours. So machine 1 is going to create a problem for me. How much I am short? I am short of the 1500 hours. Let me put it in the red color. This is a critical. If I want to produce the 250 of machine product A, 250 of B, and 250 of product C, I need 3000 hours from machine 1. If you don't have, so machine 1 is going to stop me from producing the 250, 250, 250. What should be the combination? Let's move it and see it. Okay, let's check the machine 2. If I want to produce the 250 units, machine 2 required 8 hours for 1 unit of A. So it means that it required 2000. Here also there is an issue. So I cannot produce 250 units of each. Now one thing is clear. If I want to produce 250 of C product, it required 1 hour. So the total hours required by by the machine to produce 250 units is 2750. Again, my dear, the available hours are 1500. So there is again an issue that we don't have enough hours to produce the 250 of each. So we have to make some combination which can give us the maximum profit. Let's come to the machine 3. If I want to produce the 250 of the product A, it requires for one unit it requires 3 hours. So for 250 it requires 750 hours. Similarly, if I want to produce 250 units, and if I want to produce 250 units of the C, I require half hour, means that 125 hours. Now we can see that machine 3 has no issue because we already have 1500 hours. So in this case we have even the surplus hours. Even we have 375 surplus hours. You can see the problem is there in machine 1 and machine 2. But which one is more critical? Machine 1 is the more critical. So now one thing is clear, that the bottleneck is machine 1. This is the bottleneck. Okay. Now my dear, bottleneck is identified. Now we need to calculate the throughput accounting ratio, and then we can do the ranking and then decide what should be the combination, if not 250, 250, 250 each. Okay, why my dear? One thing is now should be understandable to us. These two are no more going to be used for the further calculations. Okay, we will only consider the bottleneck, the machine 1. Okay, we only need to consider the bottleneck, which is the machine 1, because this is a system or a machine which is stopping us from the maximum production. If we can satisfy this, then how much number of units we can produce. Now let's, my dear, come to the throughput accounting ratio. For that, my dear, you need to calculate the throughput return. How to calculate the throughput return? What is the formula? Sales okay. Now let me calculate the throughput accounting ratio for each of the units A, B, C. Create some space, yes, like this. What is the sale price of A? I'm just going to copy it. 25, 18 and 13. 25, 18 and 13. Okay, my dear, so we have copy the sale prices of each product. Now, my dear, we need to calculate the variable cost in this case, which is the direct material cost that is given here. Now we can calculate the throughput return per unit. Okay. So once look, if you can see the steps, first step was to identify the bottleneck. Now we need to calculate the throughput per unit for each product, how can we calculate? 25 minus the variable or the direct material cost. So this is, my dear, our throughput return per unit. Now to calculate the to calculate the throughput accounting ratio, we need to calculate the factory hours also. Okay, so factory, you can receive throughput return. Let me do the first step. Let me clear first this one. Throughput return is calculated. We need to calculate it per hour also. When I'm calculating the throughput return per hour, I told you that I have to consider it into the consideration of the bottleneck. So what are my bottleneck hours required for each unit? I told you we have to ignore this one. I required 7 hours for product A, 3 products for 3 hours for product B, and 2 hours for product C. So 7 hours required. Now I'm going to calculate the throughput return in relation to the number of hours which I required. But which number of hours? The number of hours of the bottleneck machine one, because the other machines don't have an issue. Now I can calculate this portion, the throughput return per hour. Let me copy it from here directly. So 15 divided by the bottleneck hours. Answer is 2.14, 3.3. Let me reduce the number of. So you can see the throughput return per hour of the product C is high. Okay, then second one and third. But we are not going to do the ranking basis on the throughput return per hour. We have to look into the relationship of the all cost. Like here it is only showing the throughput return. This is only in relation to the variable cost. We need to consider the factory cost also. Then we will be able to do the ranking. Okay, so factory cost. Okay, here it is given, but this is the fixed cost given, but this is for the 1 unit. Okay, what we need to do is that we need to calculate it for the entire number of units, because I told you that fixed cost is for the time period. It's not per unit. If you are paying a rent which should be diversified among all the 3 products A, B, and C. Either you are producing 1 unit or you are producing the 10 units. But this is this factory cost which is given to us is for the 1 unit. So let me find out the total factory cost. For 1 unit it is 5 and plus 2. 7 is the fixed cost of 1 unit of the product A multiplied by the 250. These are the total number of units. So I got the answer 1750. Okay, this is the fixed cost of only A. Now the fixed cost of the B, direct material, direct material, no, the direct labor plus overhead, and then multiply by 250. Okay, so 1000 is the, similarly by using the same formula, the fixed cost of the product C is 8755. So the total factory cost is, or the fixed cost is, if I'm going to produce the 250 unit, it is 3625. Total factory cost is the 3625. Now if you can see the formula for to calculate the throughput accounting ratio, we actually don't need the only factory cost, we need the factory cost per hour. Okay, now while calculating the factory cost per hour, actually we are supposed to consider which hours? The bottleneck hours. So this 3625 is the total factory cost for time. Time means that for the number of units A, B, C, both three, all of these 3 units are produced. For that we need a 3625. Number of the fixed cost is 3625. The bottleneck hours are how much? Actually, in this case, if you can see that the number of hours available for the bottleneck and the others are same, 1500, 1500. But my dear, you are only supposed to consider the number of hours available in the bottleneck, which you can see all these things are equal, but if these three are different even, you are supposed to consider only the cost and the number of hours available in the machine A, which is your bottleneck. So total cost divided by the number of hours available for the bottleneck machine. So this is, my dear, our factory cost per hour. Now we got the throughput accounting ratio per hour also, and now we got the factory cost per hour also. Now the time is to calculate the throughput accounting ratio. So how to calculate the throughput accounting ratio for each product? Throughput return divided by the fixed cost per hour. Okay. And for the second product, the throughput return is 3.33 and the fixed cost is 2.42. Similarly, the fixed cost is 3625 divided by the factory cost per hour. Sorry, make the mistake. Throughput return for product C is 4 divided by the fixed cost per hour. Okay, so now we got the throughput accounting ratio for each of these products. If you check the steps, you can see that once you calculate the throughput accounting ratio, you need to do the ranking. Rank the products based on the throughput accounting ratio. This is going to tell us that what should be our priority. Let's do the ranking. The higher the throughput accounting ratio, the more it is preferable. So first priority will be given to the product C, second priority will be given to the product B, and the third priority will be given to the product A. Okay, now let's check that what could be the combination of all this ABC. Are we able to produce 250, 250, 250 of each, or we can't produce all of this 250? So if this is not the case, then first priority should be given to C, then B, then A. Now let's calculate the best combination, the optimal combination. Let me write it. Optimal combination of products. Okay, how much number of hours we have? Our available hours are, how much hours we have in bottleneck. I told you we are focusing only on the bottleneck throughput accounting ratio. So we have 1500 hours. These are the number of hours which are available. Now if my priority is to produce the product C first, what is the demand for product C? That is the 250 units per month is the demand. How much number of hours are required to produce the 250 units of the product C? 250 units I am going to produce. Now the one product C, to produce the one product C, machine 1 required 2 hours. I'm only considering the bottleneck hours, which is machine A. So, sorry, 1 unit required 250, 2 minutes, so 250 required 500 units. Now still I'm, okay, what are the available hours now? The available, let me write is the remaining hours, or can write both are correct. Let me write like this. Remaining hours are now 1000 only. If I produce 250 units of the product C, so I'm left with 1000 hours. We have the limit number of hours, which is the 1500. Let me copy it. My second priority is to produce the product B. Let's check whether I can produce the 250 units of the product B or not. If I produce the 250 units of the product B, so how much number of hours I need for that? 1 unit required 3 hours. So 250 required 750 hours. Now I'm left with the 750 hours only. Now The third product is the product C, sorry, product A. This is my third priority, the last one. Let me make intentionally one mistake. Can I produce all the 250 units of the product A? I am only left with the 250 hours. Yes, this is only possible if the product A required only 1 hour to produce one unit. So let me check it. 250 units, I need how many number of hours? To produce one unit of the A, I need 7 hours. So to produce 250 units, I need 1750 units, which means that this is not possible to produce the 250 units of the product A. So that's why I cannot produce the 250 units. Now the question arises, how much can I produce? So how, how much number of hours are required? I have only 250 hours. One unit takes 7 hours to produce. So it means that 1 hour, now I can produce only 35 units of the product A. For example, if I multiply 35 multiplied by 35 units, one unit takes me 7 hours. So you will see that it takes 245 hours to produce the 35 units. I cannot produce more than this. So still I'm left with the 5 hours. But the problem is that I cannot produce the 36 units. If I want to produce one unit more of the A, I require 7 hours. Well, here I am left with only 5 hours. So I cannot produce the more than 35 units of the A. Yes, here the answer is 35.7, but as it was mentioned in the early lecture that we will produce the full units. No working process concept, no inventory concept. So that's why we are left with the 5 hours. We cannot produce any more of the A. So now I can say that the best combination is, for me, the best combination is to, how much A should I produce? 35 units. This is the combination of units. Yes, I can produce 250 of the B and I can produce 250 of the C. Now the last part is that, now let's calculate that if this is the combination, then we can maximize our profit. Now the question arises that what is my maximum profit now with this combination? So simply, my dear, formula for the profit is total sales minus total cost. In cost we have two different costs. One is the variable and the second is the fixed cost. Once you deduct the total cost from the total sales, you will left with the profit. Now let's calculate the sales volume and then let me calculate the variable cost and then the fixed cost, I should say factory cost. So I will be left with the profit. Okay. How many number of units I am supposed to produce of the 85 units? What is the sale price of one unit? The sale price of the one unit is, yes, 25. So if I produce the 250 units of the B, what is the sale price of the one unit of the B is 18. And similarly here 250 multiplied by the 18, which is the sale price of the product C. Let's calculate the variable cost. If I produce the 35 units, one unit cost me, one unit variable cost is 10. If I produce the 250 units, so one unit variable cost is 8. And similarly do the same for the product C. So my total sales are how much? All these three products. This is the sales of the each product, and this is the sales of the total products. So my total sale is 8,625, and my total variable cost is, okay. If I minus this sale minus variable cost, I'm left with throughput return, but I'm interested to calculate the profit. Okay, what is my fixed cost? Fixed cost for all these three products for the time period is same, which is already calculated here. Yes, this one is my total fixed cost, 3625. So what is my net profit? Sales minus variable cost minus fixed cost. Okay, so this is, my dear, the profit. This is the maximum profit which I can earn with this combination and with the given limited resources, the bottleneck. If you want to try the different combination, okay, for example, producing 50 of this and 150 of this, my dear, whatever combination you want to create, you can test it, but your profit will be not more than this one. Hopefully you get it. This is how we calculate the maximum profit and maximum number, the optimal combination of the units by considering the limited resources, the bottleneck. Hopefully you get it. If you have any question, my dear, you can ask the question. Thank you. Goodbye.